Hola estudiantes, ¿cómo están? Aquí está Lucy, su profesora de español. Y hoy vamos a hablar de los verbos reflexivos. Los verbos reflexivos are those that the action go back to the person who do the action. The person who do the action also receive the action. Okay? And many of those verbs are the one who has to deal with daily routine, like to take a shower, to cut your hair, to comb your hair, to wake up, to go to bed. So they need a reflexive pronoun. So yo me levanto means I get up. If I just say levanto, that means I lift something. So it's a different concept. So again, I hope the video helps you to understand much better this concept. And if you got any question, por favor, me escriben un email. Nos vemos y ahora vamos a mirar el video. Hola, ¿cómo están mis estudiantes favoritos? Hoy vamos a estudiar los verbos reflexivos. Los verbos reflexivos. This is something that is probably very different than in English in many ways, right? So we need to know remember in the activities you need to practice, read the material for chapter 7, and the reflexive verb is the major concept that we're learning this week. So los verbos reflexivos. We're talking about the construction, the subject is also the object. So you receive the same. For example, it's the equivalent to say in English myself, yourself, himself, herself. But in English, sometimes we don't use that. Like you say, I brush my teeth. But you don't say, I brush my teeth myself. In Espanol, mostly all of the routines that we do, like I comb my hair, I, take a shower, I wash my hands, all of those are going to be reflexive because you do it to you. You do the action, that is the verb, but also you receive the benefit of whatever the action is. Okay? So, for example, en español, yo me levanto a las 8 de la mañana. That is, I get up. But notice that levantar is to get up. But you say yo me levanto. It's the equivalent to say I get up myself. In English, you don't have to use the word yourself. But in Espanol, it's implied. We don't notice. It's just part of what it is. Like for example, for me to say, fill out this application. At the beginning, I couldn't understand. Fill out. How do you want me to fill it out? If I fill it out, then I'm not going to put anything because it's out of the application. But that's how you say it in English. Fill out the application. Right? I understand if you say fill in the application. But that's how you say it in English, and I have to get it, and that's it. The same thing with this. Right? Mis hermanas se maquillan. Maquillarse is to put on makeup. So, se maquillan. With this, I know they are putting makeup on themselves. Because if they were makeup artists, they would say, mis hermanas maquillan a, I don't know, Beyoncé. That action go to somebody else. Right? But when it's just go to you, that's how you say it. So we need to learn what are those verbs that we're going to use reflexive. Basically, that's what it is. Right? So me levanto, te levantas, se levanta, nos levantamos, os levantáis, and se levanta. And that is get up, to get up. So yo me levanto a las 8 de la mañana. Me levanto. But if I don't use the me, then I will say yo levanto la computadora. And that will change the meaning because that means I lift the computer. But when I say yo me levanto, it's I lift myself up. So just please make sure that you understand this concept. And if you have any question, let us know. So the reflexive pronouns, you see, Me is myself, so the action is to me. Me levanto, right? Me duermo, I fall asleep. Te is to yourself. Se is for informal, for formal you, himself and herself. Nos, ourself. Os, always remember in Spain. And say yourself and then self. So, for example, I sit on the chair. Yo me siento en la silla. Me siento. I did it myself. I don't need any help. Right? When I get really old, then probably somebody's going to help me. And then I cannot do that reflexy anymore. Right? Because I would say that somebody's helping me. But if until I can do it by myself, I'm going to say me siento. Me siento en la silla. And everybody knows that I'm talking about myself and the action is done for me, by me. Okay? You wash your hair twice a week. Tú te lavas el cabello. So, all of these, right? Cepillar los dientes, se cepilla es reflexive. Yo me cepillo los dientes. So notice that this verb is going to be conjugated like a regular verb. Cepillo, that's come from cepillar. NNAR. Cepillo, cepillas, cepilla, cepillamos, cepilla. So, me cepillo is to me. Te cepillas is to you. Right? Tú te cepillas. I'm talking about you, but I'm still saying you do the action. Él se cepilla. Okay? So, make sure that you practice this. And then again, another example. Despertarse is to wake up. Yo me despierto. It's an irregular verb because notice that you're going to change the I for ahí. So that's now what this do for you. Now you understand, the IE means an irregular verb, then I'm going to change the I for IE. So it's despierto, despiertas, despierta. I know that in the nosotros form and the vosotros form, I never will change it. And that's it. So you see, what you learn in 101 is not that I forget it. That's part of what you are going to keep going learning. Me visto, that is to dress up, or to dress, not to dress up, to dress, right? So, me visto, te vistes, se viste. Acostarse is to go to bed. Yo me acuesto. My friends, at this time, when you are in 102, many people say, but I'm really serious and I want to learn. Make a journal, make a diary every day and write few sentences. Hoy yo me levanto a las... You don't know how to use the past tense yet? So you can make those sentences in the present tense. And when you learn how to use the past tense, you just change it to past tense and that's it. But you already know how to use the structure. Right? For example, I can say, hoy yo me baño en mi casa. Hoy yo me despierto a las 8. Hoy yo me acuesto. Once then I know how to do that, then when I learn the past tense, then I can put it in past tense. But doing a journal, writing your sentence from what you really know and what you do is a great way to understand. Muy bien, cepillarse. We got another verb that you need to learn. Right? And here it is. So this bañarse is to take a shower, right? Bañarse is to take a bath. We usually use for both. Take a shower, take a bath, we say bañarse. Yo me baño. It's bañarse. NNSI, that means it's a reflexive. That means that you need a reflexive pronoun. Yo me baño, tú te bañas. Now, bañar alone is not reflexive. But you can say, yo baño a mi perro. So the one who receiving the action is the dog. Here, you are the one who receiving the action. So this is not reflexive. And then you see doesn't have the SE. Okay? Here you got another example of reflexive or not reflexive. The main thing is that the reflexive, the infinitive, NNSE. And that is what is going to let you know that you have to use a reflexive pronoun. Okay? So please make sure you practice your reflection activities. If you got any question or anything, again, let us know. Hasta la vista, amigos. Cuídense mucho. Nos vemos.